This improv story is based on the idea a man gets stuck in an aeroplane toilet. Let the story commence. The second the wee picture of the seatbelt thing went off, ding, Craig was up, unbuckled, straight to the toilet. As he was walking up to the toilet, some fucking prick in front of him got up out their seat and started walking to the front to go to the toilet. The guy went in the toilet. Craig stood outside the toilet. Whatever you call them. Cabin crew. Went like that. Sorry, no queuing. No queuing. Coronavirus, social distancing and all that. Right. Well, I'm not really a queue. It's just the one of me. We heard that one before. Sit down, please. Right. And he went to sit down and he saw somebody else stand up and get up and go and wait where he was waiting. But the cabin crew person didn't see because they were following Craig. And Craig went like, turn around, look, there's somebody there. Can you go, sir? I need to get the food for everyone. Can you look? Oh, can you let me by? No queuing. Well, look, can you move? Fuck. Can you watch your language, please? Watch your aggression levels. And they go, oh, yes, what's this? What? So Craig sat down. And then waited. He fucking bursting for a shite. He was actually quite happy that he was the first. Because if he was the first up, and then the second person went up and went into the toilet and it was him in a shite, and farts and shite and all that, or if the toilet door opened and the waft of shite came out, everybody would notice because of him. Because he was the first. Whereas if he went up, say, fifth, and then somebody went in after him, and it was stinking of shite, he could blame it on. It must have been, it was something of shite when I went in. So that's good. So eventually, four. He was like the 10th person to go up. Unbelievable. And he shut the door. And he did a shite. Now, here's the thing. He'd been holding it in for that long that when the shite came out, it touched. He could feel it touching the bottom of the pan whilst still coming at his arse. It was that long. The shite was that long. And like that, wide like that. It's like curled around his fucking organs. Like that. He could feel it. And he was trying to like squeeze it to hopefully get it down the tube. But he's like, fucking hell. He thought, what did I do here? What did I do here? So he thought, right, I can try nipping it. And he tried nipping it, but it was too... It was, his arse couldn't do it. It was too big, he couldn't nip it. It's a bit like, try and crush something. See, I could crush something that's kind of like, say, that size, right?
When 900 years old you reach, look as good you are not.
I could crush that, right? I can't do it because it's dead hard, but I'm sort of able to do it. See something that's dead big, I can't get enough around it, you know, to bring it in the way. And these arse muscles, it was just, they'd already been stretched to capacity. So it was like his arse muscles it was like having your arm getting twisted up behind you. They were knackered. His arse muscles were knackered. Have you ever seen a boxer? Like one of the best boxers in the world, 3 fucking rounds in. They start off like fucking swinging. If you watch Hagler and Hearns, how knackered they are after like 3 rounds because they fucking go for it. They're honestly like that. They're like that. Fucked. That's what his sphincter muscles were like. Anyway. And he was just like, he's just knackered. He's like, I can't nip it. I don't know what to do. He thought, press the button. The flush button. And that'll kind of soak it away. So he pressed the button. He did that kind of... And it sucked. Because some of the shite was already down the hole. It pulped the shite out. But you know how some people they have to go to hospital because they've went and stuck something up their bum, and the suction effect won't let it come out. Well, basically the shite sucked out the organs, the vacuum sort of effect, and it pulled out the whole shebang. Wait a minute. I just realised this is exactly like who's him that wrote that's exactly like a short story like Guts. That's exactly Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know how you say his name. The Fight Club guy is a story about a guy that liked the feeling of putting his arsehole up against the kind of, there's a suction sort of thing in his swimming pool. But ended up pulling the guts right out. Right, so I can't do that because that's been done. That didn't happen. He was worried that was going to happen because he'd actually read that story. But what happened was the shite came out. The shite came out successfully. But basically it was like a fucking rubber bullet. The mechanics of the plane were no built to cope with that. It was like a rubber fucking bullet, like that long, that wide, that broad, thick, and it was just like fucking. It's basically like that, a big fucking rubber bullet. And fuck you. All you heard was this. You're the engines. Like that. Oxygen masks. All the cunts. If you could please pay attention to the safety explained to you by the cabin crew. There are exits to the and the every cunt who was like that. It's not going to happen to me. 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 And it's not like they're going to get into trouble anyway because everyone else is looking. Every cunt is freaking out. What did I do? Plane was going down like that. Craig was like, oh fuck. He was actually in the safest place. Everybody else is banging their fucking heads against each other. Skulls are getting cracked open. Brains are being exposed. Screaming everywhere, man. Screaming everywhere. He was actually in the safest place. A nice wee box. Nothing was banging into him. No loose fucking bags or anything like that hitting him. He was in the best place. So the plane went down. It landed in the North Sea because it was sort of going there to that way. Landed in the North Sea, and he could hear like, right, okay, it's actually quite an alright landing. The ramp's going out. Okay, everyone, just slide down there. Just bounce. That's it. Okay, get a life jacket on. Right, make sure you've not got it. Don't blow it up until you. And he was like, "Let me out." He couldn't get out. Water was starting to come in. Let me out. Something that the plane had sort of crunched a wee bit, and he couldn't get out. And then eventually somebody shouted, the water was coming up and up and up to there. And then somebody shouted, "Is somebody in there?" Aye. I can't open the door. Right, stand back. I've got an axe. Oh, fuck. Stood back. Fuck you. Axe. Right through the door, kind of Shining style. Cabin crew looked through, and it was the cabin crew, the crew member that said, "Nae cooing." And he went, "Oh, you." And I went, "Oh, you." It opened up and it said, "Wait a minute." And they looked down and they could see he still had his trousers around his ankles and they were shiting his arse. They could see because his feet were up the way. He'd been sort of getting bounced about, so his ankles are sort of up here. Do you imagine I pulled my ankles up to here right now? It was like that kind of view. So you could see his arse was all shitey because they didn't have time to wipe his fucking arse. The plane was fucking crashing. Give a guy a break. And she went like that. "Wait a minute. You did this." And he went, "Aye. I did it. And I'd do it again. Because I was busting for a shite. And if you had let me fucking go when I needed to go, the shite wouldn't be that big, but you let it back up. You let it stockpile in my guts. So it's actually your fault. And when I get out of here, I'm going to make sure you're exposed and seen to and done through the courts of law." And she said, "Aye, if you get out." He said, "So you're admitting it is your fault?" And she said, "Well, we'll never find out if it was my fault because this will never see the light of day in the courts of England. This will never go to the Old Bailey because you're stuck in here." And he said, "I'm only joking. I swear I won't tell anybody if you just let me out." And she went, "Aye, right." And then she says, "I'm going to put the axe through, the heat of the axe through this gap, and I'm going to whack you the heat if you want, or you can drown. That's my last wee olive branch to you." And he went like that. Ricky's a wee second to have a wee think about it because it's a big decision. She said, "Of course." So he was having a wee think about whether he wanted her to put the axe through his head or drown. And he went, "I'm going to give her the fucking pleasure of thinking she's helped me out to ease her guilty conscience." He went, "I'd rather drown, fuck off." She went away. The plane went down, the water started coming in, and he started drowning, and he had no idea it's so fucking painful. And he regretted his decision. So he went like that. And she swam back. She was actually round the corner. She knew he was going to change his mind. And she put the axe through and whacked him over the head with the spiky bit of the axe. Bang! Pulled the front of his face off. The whole skull, the whole front of the skull came off. And everything floated out. Eyes floated out. Brain floated out. All floated out. He was still alive, with his brain floating out, his eyes were like that, outside the skull. So it was kind of weird for his brain because one eye was looking there, and one eye was looking there, and then, the distance between them was changing, the height between each was changing, one was looking at the other eye, he could see his eye. Weird experience. And then she went, this is hot, this is horrific, and she just reached into the brain and went like that. Just went like that, bang. And that was the end of him. So he was stuck in an airplane toilet for a while. And then she swam back up and they said, why did you go back down? Did you save somebody? She said, I tried, but he died in my arms. And a wee Wayne came up and said, was that my daddy you tried to save? And she went, yes. What did he say? He said he loves you. And he wants you to have a good life. Oh, Daddy, I miss you so much. And then, just then, between the two of them, floated this big shite. That length. That wide. And the cabin crewmate went, that was him. That's your daddy. Mummy, can we take it home? And they had that shite laminated and put on the mantelpiece. And they made sure they left a wee hole in the lamination, to let the smell come out. So, because he used to do some humming shites about the house. So it was always this wee feeling that he was still with them. The end. They drilled a wee hole in it. It was an afterthought. They drilled a wee hole in it. How do you know? I was their neighbour. I was their neighbour and they told us everything. Thank you very much, everybody. I don't believe it. Don't believe what you want. Look here, I said, do you think I'm telling the truth or no? It's actually, it's personal to me. It's personal to me.